Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is 6:32, and we are going to call this meeting of the Drainage Board to order. First item is the adoption of the agenda. Motion from Councillor Richardson, seconded by Member Clark. All in favor? That motion carries. Thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest this evening? Seeing none. In your package, there was the minutes from the previous Drainage Board meeting of April 2nd, 2024. Can I have a motion to accept those minutes? Member McEachran, seconded by Member Clark. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? And that carries. Thank you. We have no deputations this evening, so we're going to move right into new business. Item 4.1, the memorandum on the abandonment of the Dykstra Municipal Drain. Mr. Monaghan or Mr. Farquhar, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the board. So the petition before you right now is for the abandonment of the Dykstra Drain. So the Dykstra Drain was originally petitioned for odd lands located on Concession 6 North, Part Lot 16 and 17 in Mariposa, former township of Mariposa, back in 1973. Currently, as you can see here, the drain starts at this location and then makes its way down to the creek here. So Mr. Davidson had petitioned or approached staff to look at ways for improving the drain in this section right here on his property. So there's a pre-existing cross culvert that was put in as his crossing for the drain. And right now he came to staff looking at ways to improve his crossing and lengthen it to be able to get equipment across and more efficiently farm the property. So staff reviewed with Mr. Davidson kind of three options. One option was the lengthening of the culvert to be able to bring larger equipment across, which would require a minor improvement under the Drainage Act for the existing drain. The second option he looked at is actually enclosing this section of the drain, which is, I think, approximately about 500 feet, which would then require a major improvement under the Drainage Act. So both options would require the appointment of an engineer to review. So there would be a cost for the engineer as well as the construction cost for both options under the Act. Third option that was explored was the abandonment of the drain in its entirety. So which you see before you tonight is the petition for, and for which Mr. Davidson's petition has met the requirement. With the abandonment of the entire drain, that would allow Mr. Davidson then to move forward with improvements on his own property, but still subject to other interior regulations. For example, under the Conservation Authorities Act, he would require a permit for the work he's proposing for the enclosure of it as well. However, he wouldn't incur the costs of an engineer's report or the costs associated if the city had to tender out the work to do an enclosure if it was approved. So that is the summary of this petition that's before you. If any members have any questions about it, the crossing, there is a road crossing that exists right here that does form part of the drain. So if the drain is abandoned, then this road crossing then reverts to as municipal infrastructure. So the city then would be responsible for the piped crossing that goes from the west side to the east side, and would form part of the city's municipal infrastructure and would not form part of the drain. So the city would then maintain that crossing.
Okay, you've heard Mr. Farquhar's report. Any questions at this time? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead, Councillor Joyce.
Yeah, just one question. I just had trouble. There's nothing in the report saying exactly where this is on the Eldon Road. Like, I don't have a cross street here. I'm just curious where this is, that's all.
This is Salem right here, and this is Cresswell right here. So the new fire station is right here.
Perfect, thank you.
Any further questions? Member Clark? Oh, just hit your mic, Charlie.
If we vote to abandon this, what happens down the road if one of these properties sells, new landowners come in, what happens there?
Mr. Farquhar?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the member. So right now, if this drain is abandoned, then this existing infrastructure network would then fall under common law. So that any of this drainage then would still be allowed. And if a separate landowner, if the property sells and there's a separate landowner and they do anything to infringe or impede the drainage, then upstream landowners could pursue through common law, or they could then petition again to have it become a drain.
Any further questions? Councillor Richardson?
Thank you, and through you. Actually, I found this report quite unique because we haven't done one of these before, so it was a good learning curve for me. And Member Clark did expose the question I had, is what happens if you have that abutting properties, sell? And how does that fall back on us? But I believe that you've defined that well as well. So it looks like it's a clear cut that we move forward with doing this based on what we've got in front of us tonight.
Is that a motion, Councillor Richardson?
That would be the motion there, Chair Bale.
Okay, so a motion from Councillor Richardson that the memorandum from the Drainage Superintendent, Engineering and Corporate Assets as of June 20th, 2024 regarding the petition for abandonment of the Dykstra Municipal Drain be received, that the Council proceed with the abandonment of the Dykstra Municipal Drain and instruct the City Clerk to proceed with the notices required under Section 84 1 of the Drainage Act, and that pursuant to Section 84.3 of the Drainage Act, staff recommend to Council a drainage engineer to examine the proposed abandonment of the Dykstra Municipal Drain in the event a landowner requests such a report within the timelines of the Drainage Act. Seconded by Member Clark. Any discussion?
No, I just have a note. The Manager Farquhar noted that there is the second that has already been satisfied. So with the mover and seconder's consent, I would suggest that the second that be changed to that Council acknowledges that the notice is delivered to all affected property owners on June 4th, 2024, satisfies the notice requirement required under Section 84.1 of the Drainage Act, as our office has already sent out notice to all affected property owners. And it also outlines a process for any interested property owner to request a engineer's report by a timeline specified in that notice. And so that has already been done. So I don't want to add a second notice.
Okay, is that okay with you, Councillor Richardson?
That is perfectly okay. And
Member
thank you,
Clark,
Deputy
you're
Clerk.
okay? Yep. Okay, it sounds like you're good. Deputy Clerk, any further discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you. That brings us to item 4.2 this evening. Petition for drainage works, Jewel. And Mr. Monaghan, are you taking this one?
So through you, Mr. Chair, this is a new petition we received. It's actually just north of the curtain drain we recently constructed on Cameron Road by Glen Arm Road. So this is one where a landowner, it actually used to be city land just north of our Fenelon Public Works Depot that in, I think, 2017 or 18, we sold as surplus land. So the landowner that bought it has been trying to do some tile drainage work, and the outlet is kind of that east end of the property. It kind of flows through a neighbor's property and then crosses Country Lane and eventually gets to a creek further east. The petitioner and the neighbor have been unsuccessful in reaching any mutual agreement to allow drainage through the neighboring property. There's a pond you can kind of see there that has significance to the neighbor, that is kind of where the path of water. So I met with both of the landowners and just explained that mutual agreements are generally a lot cheaper and quicker, and they've been unable to reach any mutual agreement. And then in May 3rd, we received the petition from Sarah Jewell asking for a municipal drain.
Okay. And I believe, doesn't the city have an easement through part of that property as well?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chairman. As it was pre-existing owned city land, there was a culvert located at this location here, which outletted water from the road to the property. And it was, as being city-owned land, the city accepted that water from the road. And that water came from the right-of-way, as well as it came from, there's a natural water course that goes west. So this comes through this property and then crosses Cameron Road and into 740 Cameron Road. And at the time of the sale of the property from the city to the Jewells, there was on title a condition for accepting this water that was placed.
Okay. Councillor Richardson?
Thank you, and through you, Chair. How far is that, like, to the outlet? Like, what is the distance we're looking at for the applicant to the drain?
So if we consider the applicant's eastern property boundary to what could be assumed as an outlet being near Country Lane, I think, Richard, we had that at...
It was about 800 meters.
Less than 5 minutes. I walked it in the pouring rain 5 years ago.
That's pretty, it's actually quite a small drain, really, isn't it? And basically, when I'm reading this is just the first step based on, you know, the fact that they can't make an agreement. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So like Richard mentioned, he met with them, talked with them both several times, and they weren't able to achieve a mutual agreement for agreed upon works that would then bring that drainage over this property here to an outlet at Country Lane. So to achieve that drainage then for this property, the next step was a petition. In size, it'd be close to being comparable with the curtain drain.
Member Clark, I can tell you want to speak.
Who's the other adjoining landowner? Can you tell us that or not?
Does it matter?
Well, there's got to be some common sense here. Like, this is for one landowner to petition against one other landowner. How many is going to be affected by the drain? We put a municipal drain here.
At this point in time, we don't know the exact drainage set. You could, as the drainage comes in through the road, as well as it's the property, it's other city-owned lands in this area, and then it's properties probably to the west. But until we have an engineer appointed and that total topography and watershed looked at, we won't know what the effect completely of different properties that would be brought into a potential drain. I mean, we've been in this situation before. Where we've heard requests or petitions where neighbors couldn't reach a mutually agreed upon arrangement to allow access their drainage. So for people who want to farm their land or utilize more of their land to achieve drainage, this is sometimes their only option.
Any further questions? Okay. What is the board's wish?
I'll speak up, forever hold your peace. I'll move it as printed because to me it sounds like we're at a stalemate and this is the first step. So it's not overly complicated. That's my thoughts reading it. You guys can clear that up if I'm wrong.
Okay, motion from Councillor Richardson that the memorandum from the Drainage Superintendent, Engineering and Corporate Assets of May 3rd, 2024 regarding the petition for drainage works by owners of Concession 6, Part Lot 21, Geographic Township of Fenland, being Sarah Jewell, be received. That council proceed with the petition submitted by Sarah Jewell for drainage works for Concession 6, Part Lot 21, Geographic Township of Fenland, to be known as the Jewell Municipal Drain, and instruct the city clerk to proceed with the notices required under Section 51B of the Drainage Act. That staff concurrently continue to pursue with the petitioner options for a mutual agreement as per city policy, and that pursuant to Section 8.1 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990, Chapter D 17, staff recommend to council a drainage engineer for the examination of the area requiring drainage and proceed with the requirements of the proposed Jewell Municipal Drain. Is there a seconder? Councillor Joyce. Any discussion? Calling the question, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That brings us to item 5, other business. Is there any other business anybody from the board would like to bring up this evening? Staff, Mr. Farquhar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'd like to bring to attention to the board. The city had issued out notices for a public meeting next Tuesday at 6. What time do you have it, Richard, at? I think it's 6. Starting at 6 o'clock. And that is for the referral back that the board gave for the weight drain. So Burnside Engineering, the engineer of record is Ed DeLay. It will be having a public meeting at Cameron Road at the city's facility on Cameron Road, actually just south of this property here. At that meeting, it will be another presentation to the public for the weight drain. During the day, Mr. DeLay has reached out to the property owners on the drain and asking if they'd like to meet during the day first at their properties to review. If not, then they'd attend at that meeting at that night. So with once that meeting is completed next week, the requirement would be met then for the refer back, and then Mr. DeLay would come back to the board for the consideration based on any inputs received at that public meeting, and then would also display the minutes for that public meeting and the comments received from the public.
So you would be looking for a board meeting sometime in July?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, whether that's whether we can accommodate or not, we'll have to kind of look at scheduling with the clerks.
We're looking at an early August. That way we can meet the timeline for an August regular council meeting. That would be near the end of August.
Okay. Any questions of Mr. Farquhar? Okay, seeing none. Is there any other business any member of the board or staff would like to bring up this evening? If there's not, the famous motion of the evening. Motion to adjourn. Member Clark, seconded by Member McEachran. All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much.